The next city was Montgomery, Alabama. And I turned it to you and I said, I'd just seen the movie Just Mercy about a man named Brian Stevenson, who was an attorney that spent a career fighting for justice and helping people get free from prison when they were wrongfully convicted, and oftentimes on death row, and oftentimes doing life sentences. And I said to Adam, when we go to Montgomery, I think we're going to meet Brian Stevenson. And if we meet Brian Stevenson, that is confirmation that we're supposed to be doing exactly what we're doing. We are psychotherapists, not filmmakers, but we're about to take you on a life-changing adventure. This Black History Month, join me, Elliot Connie, and my best friend, Dr. Adam Frower, as we explore some of the most defining moments in our country's history through the lens of a solution-focused expert.
On this spot in December of 1955, Rosa Parks boarded a bus that would actually take her into history because she refused to give up her seat and move to the back of the bus to allow a white man to take her seat, as was customary in those times. This is regarded as the beginning of the modern civil rights movement because it led to Dr. Martin Luther King leading a bus boycott that lasted 382 days until eventually the Supreme Court ordered that you had to integrate public transportation. That was a really significant moment because it let the movement know that they could non-violently protest and accomplish their goal of change. So here we are. Our journey has taken us to Montgomery, Alabama. The Capitol building is behind me. And you can see footprints on the ground commemorating the walk from Selma, Alabama, all the way here to Montgomery. That just amazing feat of civil rights accomplishment happened right here. This is where he walked on the steps. Martin Luther King gave a speech to an audience. It was pretty incredible. And this journey for us has been pretty incredible.
What stands out to me about Montgomery is we went to the Mass Incarceration Museum and like the mass incarceration exhibit. We walked out, so they wouldn't let us record or take pictures in there. That was the first time on this trip we had encountered that. And so we went outside to record, standing in front of the building, and we got kind of ushered away, like, move that way. And we ended up in a parking lot recording. And I said my bit, and then while Adam was talking, I looked to my left, and I see a man wearing a mask walking away. That could possibly be Brian Stevenson, the lawyer that was featured in the movie Just Mercy. And while Adam was talking, I walked over to the security guy and I said, "Excuse me, does Brian Stevenson ever come to this museum?" And he laughed. And I said, "Is that him?" And by this time he's walking across the street with a woman. And I said, "Is that him?" And he laughed. And I just took off running, trusting that Adam and Becca would see me run and follow me.
Figure out what was happening.
Having no idea why I was running. And I ran around the corner and he couldn't have been nicer. And we got him on camera answering just a couple of quick questions. But since we had said the night before, tomorrow's going to be, I think we're going to meet Brian Stevenson, and that will be confirmation that we are doing sacred work. It was kind of amazing that we actually did.
So I think it's just carrying on from what I just said, right? It's fascinating because you see, this is Lee Street, General Robert E. Lee, who was a general of the Confederate Army. And you see over there a monument or a mural to the Selma to Montgomery March, right? And again, it's just on the four corners, you have two Confederates, two civil rights. And it's just jarring to figure out how do we move forward when we are trying to hold on to both of these realities. Martin Luther King was quoted as saying, "One day the South will recognize its true heroes." And I think as they stand here in the midst of all of these different memorials to Lee Street, Rosa Parks, I think I think that day is hopefully coming, that we've been seeing Confederate monuments coming down. We've been seeing kind of a resurgence of civil rights, the civil rights movement and Black Lives Matters. And I hope we're getting closer to that day where the South, but also we all get to recognize the true heroes in our country's history.
And then the next day, driving to Atlanta, and it was the first time where nothing like special happened. But it felt like the appropriate way to end an incredibly emotional, monumental week. And we saw his place of rest, which is near the home where he was born. But it felt like an appropriate way to wrap up. Kind of like a Zen experience to wrap up a really intense week.
So our journey has taken us from Tulsa, Oklahoma, on an adventure that honestly is the adventure of a lifetime. And now here we are at the Martin Luther King National Historic Park, where the church he used to work at is right within our eyesight, right over here. His home is somewhere here. And I think, Adam, it's only appropriate, the journey where we just went on, Black Wall Street, Little Rock 9, Emmett Till, Hezekiah Watkins. I mean, the journey we just went on is amazing. And it seems appropriate to end our journey in Atlanta, Georgia, at the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's it kind of feels like we came full circle, right? So it's a horrible, sad ending, but it's also probably the legacy that has carried on the longest. And so I think we're gonna, throughout this journey, tell you the unknown stories, but I think obviously we also have to tell the known stories.
Okay, this has been a life-changing journey. We've been across 6 states, thousands of miles, and the entire time you're thinking about, like, how do we end this video series? Like, what do we do at the end of this to give this journey the life that it's given us if we've been on it? And now here we are at the last stop. We're at the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and because of dumbass COVID, like, we can't open the door, we can't go in. And it makes me realize something, like, we have to come back. Like, in a weird way, we're gonna end this as a to be continued, because as we've shared stories from Black Wall Street and Little Rock 9 and Hezekiah Watkins and Emmett Till's assassination place and all of these places, I think that the previous generation handed us a responsibility that we have to carry forward. So we drove all of that way, we get to the last stop and we can't go in, which feels appropriate actually, because now we have to come back. We have to commemorate this by carrying on this tour without cameras and without lectures. And there's so much more to learn, there's so much more to do. And I hope this video series has inspired you guys to carry this civil rights journey on forward, because some of the things we've learned about in the past, we're still struggling with now, and we just have more work to do. So we're gonna end with to be continued.
Although Martin Luther King happened in my backyard, there are these experiences that are happening in everyone's backyards. And we have to choose. We have to choose to see them. We have to choose to talk about them. We have to choose to engage in them. We have to choose to try to make these experiences stop. And in essence, it's in all of our backyards, and how we engage with it is really up to us.